Hello, divine mandate. Some individuals don't understand. They lost a blessing until they had to pay for it. That's the quiet truth behind every gaze full of sorrow, every unexpected shift in tone, and every uncomfortable effort to get back in touch with you after they treated you like you were nothing. They didn't know, and they couldn't know, that you were never simply another person in their tale. You were a narrative twist that seemed regular at the time, the type of person who only makes sense in retrospect. And we all know that hindsight is cruel. The crazy thing is that research shows that emotional pain sticks in the mind longer than physical pain. That's why the people who didn't believe in you are now stuck watching their blunders over and over again like a lousy movie. As soon as you left, they felt clear again, like Wi-Fi coming back after a power outage. It was clear all of a sudden. You weren't being theatrical. You weren't accomplishing much. You were using a frequency that they weren't updated enough to pick up. Your ascension was like an earthquake within them. When someone is really chosen, when they have that unique, unusual type of anointing that even darkness changes to feed them, it has a ripple effect. People experience it before they comprehend it. They respond before they understand it. And sometimes their sorrow doesn't come out as an apology or taking responsibility. Sometimes it seems like following your progress from a distance and appearing to be curious. You can say, "And I go to the gym just to admire the machines." But here's the truth: some of the people who doubted you, ignored you, or secretly hoped for your demise are now watching you develop like it's a trailer for a movie they never auditioned for but really wanted to be in. They can't say it out loud, but they really feel it. The shock of losing someone they never knew and the understanding that they had done something wrong. Not only did your root alter, but it also showed theirs. And now their sorrow is an unwanted voice in their head, telling them that you weren't the one who got away. You were the one they weren't ready for. Number 1. Your calling will expose people's latent weaknesses quicker than your success would. People want to act like they're not troubled, confident, or supportive. But as soon as someone with a true purpose comes into their lives, all of their secret fears and doubts come out. Not only did your presence impact the atmosphere, it also changed how people regarded themselves. You didn't need to be famous, rich, or important to get people going. It was all in the way you acted, how clear you were, how sure you were of yourself, and how calm you were. These objects are like a mirror, and mirrors may make individuals who have been avoiding their own image for years feel bad. Some of the folks who miss you don't miss the relationship itself. They're sad about the person they may have become if they hadn't let their fears control them. They didn't leave because you weren't good enough. They left because being near to you made them realize they weren't getting any better. Most people speak about progress, but they don't really want to do it, since it means acknowledging they've been stuck. They weren't scared of your calling, since you spoke about it much. They were scared because it was genuine. People sensed it. When someone carries something real, it shows who was faking it. You made them think about aspirations they gave up on, discipline they didn't want to accomplish, and bravery they never learned. That type of reminder is unpleasant, particularly for those who want to be great, but don't want to take on the responsibilities that come with it. That's why they feel bad about it today. Not because you got successful, but because people saw how weak their excuses were compared to how hard you worked. They see you becoming better and eventually realize that what they thought was common was really unusual. They had to face their own lack of direction when they lost you. And the most painful kind of regret is when someone finds they thought greatness was an attitude, confidence was arrogance, and purpose was a problem. Your calling didn't simply show them who they were. It also showed you who you always were. And that clarity is something they will never forget. 2. The devil didn't defend you. You were safe because even darkness knows it can't change a destiny that was written in fire. People want to hear dramatic stories about things they don't comprehend. So they made up their own stories about how you lived through circumstances that should have killed you. Some others said that you must have unusual protection, like darkness itself was keeping you safe. But the reality is far worse. Your opponents couldn't harm you, since your fate was set long before they made their schemes. No matter who tries to get in your way, your path is one of those rare ones that can't be changed, delayed, or deleted. It's not chance, and it's not a deal with the devil. It's all about alignment. Its goal. Even the dark won't try to stop this type of calling, since it knows the end is already written. People who are really selected have lives that follow a weird pattern. You'll see assaults happen, but they won't hit. Plots grow, but then fall apart on their own. People get together to bring you down, yet they end up showing their true colors. You get through pandemonium without being hurt, not because the world is nice, but because certain fates come with repercussions for anybody who attempts to change them. The limits of the universe are at work, even if you can't see them. And the ones who didn't believe you now wish they had, because they see they weren't simply playing with a normal person. They were playing with someone who had already guarded their stairs. This is why you weren't broken by betrayals. This is why setbacks didn't kill you. This is why even your toughest times become fuel. Your narrative is going to finish up with a happy ending no matter what you do. Darkness doesn't keep you safe. It gets out of the way. Even your adversaries were hesitant to cross you because they knew it was dangerous, even if they couldn't articulate why. People are now seeing how strong you are at feeling uncomfortable, since it's evident that outside influences don't control your life. It has a greater purpose behind it. It wasn't luck that you left. You didn't borrow your strength. It wasn't by chance that you rose. No assault could stop you, since your destiny was stronger than any of them. 3. Your breakthroughs only cost losses because some people couldn't handle the new version of you that was coming. Progress doesn't only lift you up, it sets you apart, not because you want to drive others away, but because the next version of you needs a level of discipline, honesty, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness that not everyone around you is ready to work on. Some individuals were supposed to be in your history, but not in your future. As long as you stayed inside the restrictions they set for you, they were okay with you. When you began to expand beyond those bounds, they showed how they really felt. That's when the gap started. That's when things became tense. That's when their vibe shifted. People don't depart because they suddenly don't care anymore. They depart because your growth shows how little work they put into their own life. Your successes made them uncomfortable because they reminded them of the effort they won't do. It's simpler for someone to cut ties with you than to accept that they've been stuck for years. It's simpler for them to say bad things about you than to confess that they're starting to respect you, but don't have the guts to be like you. This is why you lost people as you grew. Your new level didn't hurt them. It showed them they couldn't leave with the new version of you that was coming out because that version wanted you to be responsible. It required intention. It required maturity. They had to face their own untapped potential to stay linked to you, and not everyone is ready to face the truth. They either pulled away, messed up the connection, or started a fight to hide the reality that they just couldn't keep up. Now they regret more than simply losing you. It's about not being able to talk to the person they thought you were becoming. They can tell how strong, clear, and sure of yourself you've become. They remember being there when the seeds were sown, but not being there when the harvest began to appear. They didn't leave the old you behind. They left the improved version behind because they were never ready to meet it. 4. You scare folks you've never even attempted to impress. It's one thing to scare someone because you're showing off, but it's a whole other level when people feel scared of you even when you're not doing anything. That's the part that a lot of people don't get about being selected or being connected to a cause. People may feel the weight of your existence. You don't have to talk loudly or walk with pride. Just being there shows individuals things about themselves that they didn't want to see, such their bad habits, vulnerabilities, and qualities. And that exposure seems like a danger, not because you hurt them, but because their own mind finally exposed them who they're right now. When someone is afraid of you for no reason, it's usually not about you. It's about who you are. You are what they might become if they stopped running away from their duties. You are the discipline they don't have, the bravery they have buried, the potential they have neglected, and the reality they have been avoiding. You are so real that their justifications seem insignificant. You are consistent, which makes their inconsistency stand out. You have a light that makes them feel uneasy when they stand beneath it. People don't like being reminded of the tasks they haven't done, and you accidentally become that reminder. That's why some individuals drew away, behaved weird, or were very competitive with you. They weren't trying to beat you. They were trying to outdo the version of themselves they wished they had been. Your progress made them feel like they were stuck and couldn't go forward. This uncomfortable feeling in the back of your mind is why some people wish they hadn't lost you. They didn't know what they were dealing with back then. They couldn't see how deep what you were carrying was. They simply didn't feel safe with you. They didn't deal with their own insecurities. Instead, they put it on you. They ultimately recognize that the fear they felt was never real danger as they witness you grow with the elegance and power they previously thought you lacked. It was meant to be. You didn't beat them. Their own untapped potential did. 5. Your quiet was never a sign of strength. Your lucidity was. People frequently think that being quiet means being mysterious or difficult. But in your case, it wasn't about withholding words. It was about knowing who was worth talking to. You didn't stop talking because you wanted to create an impact. You went quiet because you realized certain conversations were never going to lead anywhere meaningful. At some point in your evolution, you stopped attempting to explain your plans, your vision, or your emotions to individuals who were determined to get it wrong. You weren't trying to be quiet. It was the end. It wasn't your voice that changed. It was your clarity. You started to notice who was really listening and who was just waiting for their moment to say. You could tell who cared about you and who believed you owed them something. You saw that the folks who appeared perplexed about your limits only did so because those boundaries no longer helped them. And instead of arguing, defending, or demonstrating anything, you just walked away. That clarity made quiet seem like the right thing to do. Silence was the place where your gut feelings became stronger. It let you see what others were doing without having to listen to them explain what they were doing. It helped you figure out who really cared, who was faking it, who was draining you, and who wasn't meant to be in your life anymore. You stopped explaining, not because you lost, but because you finally realized that some people can fathom futures that are greater than what they can see right now. You didn't become smaller. You just grew out of the little talk that kept you tiny. People who used to misunderstand your quiet now wish they had paid more attention to what it meant. They believed you were being distant or over the top, but now they understand that you were becoming a better version of yourself. They know you weren't pulling away. You were changing. You were going into rooms, relationships, and places where people could hear you, not simply put up with you. You weren't strong because you didn't say anything. It protected the power you were finally ready to use with intention. Number 6. People who turned you down could see that you weren't ready for the level you were advancing to. At first, rejection always seems personal, but the fact is that some individuals drew away from you because they saw a future they weren't ready to be a part of. They may not have been able to put it into words, but their soul knew what their head couldn't. You were heading to a place that needed strength, maturity, and inner peace that they didn't have yet. They acted perplexed, aloof, or even contemptuous instead of expressing it. But what they did was only a bodily response to a spiritual mismatch. People's hearts frequently know things long before their actions show them. Before envy appears, before insecurity emerges, and before confrontation starts, they know deep down that they can keep up with you. They sense it in little moments: your strength, your concentration, your progress, and your reluctance to give up when things get tough. These things may seem normal to you, but to someone who hasn't learned how to control themselves, they feel like they're standing next to a rising tide, while they're still learning how to swim. In your situation, rejection wasn't about your inadequacies. It was about your eyes. It wasn't that you were too much. They weren't enough for where you were going. Some individuals pushed you away because they weren't ready to deal with the degree of self-worth it took to remain in touch with you, to be around you. I had to grow, and growing means being uncomfortable. People would do everything to escape pain, so they decided to stay away from one another instead of dealing with their own lack of preparation. Now they regret their choice because of what happened following. They see the version of you that was coming together when they left, and they know they left just before the big change. They assumed that leaving would save them from feeling like they weren't good enough, but now it only makes them think about what they lost. They didn't turn you down because you were missing anything. They turned you down because they knew, even before you did, that your future wasn't right for the version of themselves they didn't want to let go of. They didn't leave because you became better. It was their lack of preparation. Number 7. Your progress made others feel bad about themselves without you even trying. Some individuals only felt good about themselves when they thought you were on their level or below it. They were okay as long as you were having a hard time, questioning yourself, or remaining the same. As soon as you began to get better, even in minor ways, it made them feel something they couldn't deny anymore. They weren't offended by your progress. It showed them. It brought to light the excuses they made, the work they didn't do, and the aspirations they gave up on a long time ago. Your development suddenly showed that their lack of advancement was a decision, not destiny. You didn't mean to make anybody feel tiny. You weren't attempting to outdo, outshine, or outdo anybody. You were just striving to be better than you were the day before. But for those who want to compare themselves to others, it was enough to make them doubt themselves. They weren't scared of how well you did. They were ashamed because they didn't have it. Every step you took up made them think about the steps they never took. Each change you made in yourself forced them face the things they didn't want to alter in themselves. This is why some individuals began to pull away or behave strangely. They couldn't say the truth out loud, so they clothed their nervousness as criticism. They said you were different, as if it was an insult. They attempted to downplay your development or act like they didn't see it. They become quieter around you, because nothing makes a person feel more vulnerable than seeing someone they thought they knew change into someone they can't put in a box. They are more sorry today than they could have been happy for you. They keep thinking about the times they turned you down, now knowing that those were the first signals that you were going to make it. They feel bad because they thought they were wrong about someone who was truly maturing in ways they never thought possible. Your growth made them think about themselves, and what they saw wasn't very nice. You didn't make them feel bad. When you got up, they embarrassed themselves by remaining the same while you moved on. Number 8, you made others feel at ease until they felt like they had a right to it, and their sense of entitlement made them ignorant to how rare you are. Some people didn't like you because you made things too simple for them. You were always there for me, provided help without being asked, and were there for me in a way that most people only experience once or twice in their lives. They didn't value it. They became accustomed to it. They thought it was their right to be kind to you, their assurance to be loyal to you, and their convenience to work hard for you. It started off as comfort, but with time it became entitlement. And when that changed, people stopped realizing how valuable you were. When someone feels entitled, their view of the world changes. They start to believe that you will always be there for them, no matter how they treat you. They think you have infinite tolerance and that you would always forgive them. They become so used to what you provide that they forget how unusual it is. You weren't simply a friend, companion, or presence. They were getting special treatment without even knowing it. But entitlement has a terrible side. It makes people blind till the gift goes away. Things changed as soon as you took that energy away. Things that were easy for you to do now seem difficult for others to do. Now that they have lost the steadiness they took for granted, they feel that they can't get it back. The emotional support they didn't want now seems like the quiet they can't endure. People only discover how heavy something is when they can't carry it anymore. Therefore, your absence became the lesson that your presence could never be. This is where the pain of regret is strongest. They know you weren't like everyone else. You were the one who made them feel secure, stable, and understood. They didn't realize it was gone until it was too late. They said you were to fault for leaving, but they know deep down that they drove you away by asking you to give and give while they didn't provide anything. Because they thought they were better than you, they forgot about your humanity, your depth, and your constraints. Now they think back on every time they were rude to you, knowing they were talking to someone they would never forget. They're learning the truth in the hardest way possible. Being comfortable is a gift, but feeling entitled is what ruins it. It was never an issue that you were rare. Their lack of sight was. Number 9. You were never too much. They were just too small for what you were carrying. People called you too much because they couldn't handle the energy, ambition, and intensity you brought with you wherever you went. They said it with judgment, either quietly or out loud, trying to make you feel like a flaw instead of what you really were, a force of nature. But the truth is that you weren't the problem. You were exactly who you were supposed to be, bright, brave, unyielding, and unapologetic. You were never the problem. It was their ability. Some people just aren't big enough, strong enough, or mature enough to deal with someone who works at your level. You brought fire with you, while they brought fear. You had a clear vision when they were unsure. You were clear when they were unsure, and when someone can't match that, they don't want to rise. It's to put down, criticize, or make smaller. They tried to make you less energetic, so that you would calm down into a version they could handle. But that's not how growth works. And brilliance doesn't give in to someone else's fears. Your presence made clear the difference between what you could do and what they were comfortable with. And that gap made them feel uneasy in ways they couldn't put into words. They don't feel bad about anything you did wrong. It's about what they didn't get. They thought you were arrogant because of how intense you were, selfish because of how driven you were, and dramatic because of how deep you were. In reality, you were bringing them gifts, lessons, and a level of alignment that they weren't ready for. They chose to be mediocre instead of brave enough to be around you. They made that choice because it seemed easy at the time, but now they regret it because they realize how rare the chance was. You weren't too much. They just weren't ready to give you what you needed. And now that they see the real you, without any limits, they know the truth they used to deny. They weren't strong enough to handle what you had to carry. And the loss is theirs, not yours. You were never the issue. These were their limits. Number 10. You walked through storms that would have killed other people in less than 5 minutes, which is why they think your blessings are too good to be true. People don't often realize how much weight someone carries when they've been through battles that most people would run away from. They see the result, the calm confidence, and the poise, and they think it was easy or just happened. They don't see the nights spent fighting doubt, the choices made when failure seemed certain, or the times when it would have been easier to give up. They don't trust your blessings because they've never been under the same kind of pressure that you have. They see the shine but not the scars, and the win but not the fight. So they tell themselves that it's not natural, that they don't deserve it, or that it was somehow rigged. You've been through storms that would have broken other people over and over, storms that made most people shake and say sorry to life, but you still walked through them. You didn't just make it through, you got stronger, sharper, and better at paying attention to what matters. Every problem, betrayal, and setback was a test of your strength and made you stronger. That kind of strength doesn't come easily from the universe. It is made stronger by experience, and only those who have faced that level of challenge can really appreciate the results. They think it's unfair that you're doing better, and their disbelief is a sign that they aren't good enough. That disbelief often turns into jealousy or judgment. They begin to doubt your methods, your luck, or even your honesty, but what they see as suspicious is really just the result of going through chaos and not letting it define you. Every blessing you get shows how strong, brave, and consistent you are with things that other people can make up or fake. People think it's strange that you stay calm while storms rage around you. They forget that you stay calm because you've faced the impossible over and over again. Your life shows that real strength doesn't need to be proven. And the fact that people don't believe it doesn't mean anything about you. It's a sign of the storms they would fall apart in. You earned what they're asking about. They would have given up long before you even got to the starting line. Number 11. You grew up unchanged, but they never did. People often hold on to the version of you they first met one that fit into their comfort zone and that they thought they could understand or control. They don't know that growth doesn't happen in a straight line. Some people can't stop it, while others can't. And when you start to change who you are in their minds, they start to feel lost. The person they used to know doesn't seem familiar anymore, and they might even be scared of them. They didn't turn you down because you changed for the worse. They turned you down because they couldn't see how you had changed. Growth has a way of changing everything around you without you even knowing it. Your habits, energy, focus, and even how you deal with life start to change. Some people can walk next to that without any trouble, but most people can't. They hold on to the old you, hoping you'll stay the same. And when you don't, they either push back or pull away. It's not because of your worth that they can't adjust. It's because they don't want to grow along with you. They want the version of you that they know and feel safe with. The one that didn't make them feel bad about themselves or point out how stuck they are. Their old expectations fall apart because the new you is honest, refined, and in line with what they want. Now that they can see you from a distance, their regret is fueled by understanding. They see the honesty, discipline, and clarity that your growth needed. They also know that the person they loved, put up with, or ignored was only a small part of who you could be. The version they knew was never you in full. It was the only thing that fit into their small world. You didn't lose them because you left them behind. They lost you because the you they knew no longer existed, and they couldn't deal with the new you. You didn't need their permission or understanding to change. You just moved to a place they weren't ready to live in. Their regret now is a reminder of their own limits. A reminder that growth can sometimes drive people apart, not because they want to, but because they are selective about who they align with. You grew out of their idea of you because they couldn't change. The rest had to happen. Number 12. Your spirit is too loud for people who only listen to their own ego. Some people can't hear you. They only see you through the lens of their own ego. Your energy, confidence, drive, and clarity are not subtle, but they don't have to be. They are the kind of power that brings out the truth, commands respect, and shows people their flaws that they would rather keep hidden. This is scary for people who only think about themselves. They don't really pay attention. They criticize, compare, measure, and get everything you do wrong. Your spirit isn't an attack, but to someone who is insecure, it sounds like one. When your essence is bright and unapologetic, it makes the stories of the people around you less believable. They think you're being rude when you tell the truth, arrogant when you want to succeed, and rejecting when you set limits. The more you align with them, the more they fight back inside. Your spirit doesn't need their approval, so they can't silence it, and that makes them angry. They don't know that the pain they feel is really a reflection of their own insecurities. Your presence makes it clear that they're stuck and makes them face the fact that they aren't working at the same level. This is why some people leave or act badly. They just can't handle how real you are. They are listening, but only to what they want to hear to boost their ego. They see your growth, confidence, and clarity as a challenge instead of something that inspires them. And by the time they do realize the truth, it's too late. They don't regret losing you. They regret realizing they didn't understand how deep someone else's energy and purpose were. Your spirit will always be loud for people who aren't ready to hear it all. It shouldn't change, soften, or dim itself to feed their needs. It should rise, shine, and bring out the best in those who are in tune with it. For the rest, your presence will always feel strong, annoying, or even unfair. The regret is the sound of the chances they didn't take, the growth they didn't seek, and the rare alignment they didn't see. Your spirit wasn't too much. They couldn't hear it because they were too small. Number 13. Because people thought you were always available, they treated you casually. Some people don't appreciate their blessings. They think that your success, strength, or presence will last forever and without conditions. They talk to you casually. Don't think about how much it means to have someone like you in their life, and don't take you seriously. They think they can use up your loyalty, energy, and time without any consequences. But that assumption is wrong, because real favor isn't something you can buy. It shows that you are in line with your goals, disciplined, and have a purpose. People often don't realize how important it is until they can't get to it anymore. You were kind enough to give them your time, patient with their lack of knowledge, and always there for them. But that consistency was never a flaw. It was on purpose. People often mix up intention and obligation, which is the problem. They act like having you around is a bother instead of a gift. They treat you as if your dedication doesn't require choice, as if your blessings are theirs to exploit. They may not have noticed how casual they were at the time, but it planted seeds of regret that they will reap later. They found out what they had taken for granted when you left. They suddenly understood that access is a privilege, not a right. All of a sudden, the patience they had relied on turned into patience they couldn't count on. Suddenly, the energy they didn't want turned into an absence they couldn't stand. Their regret is a reflection of how careless they were, a reminder that they treated someone special like they were just another person. You can always find someone else, but special people are hard to find. You never had to give them your time, your clarity, or your commitment. You chose to give, and they thought that meant they were entitled to it. Now that they can see how well your life is going without them, they have to face the truth. They treated something that should have been respected with indifference. They thought that favor was endless, but it's not, and you have quietly shown it. They didn't take your blessing seriously. Now that you're not there, they learn how important it is. 14. You didn't lose people. Your fate sorted them out. Sometimes what seems like loss is really accuracy. Your life isn't a random series of connections and departures. It's a carefully orchestrated path. that only aligns with those who can match your frequency. People don't leave because of your flaws. They leave because your growth, your goals, and your energy require a level of alignment that most people aren't ready for. Destiny has a way of quietly sorting people into groups, putting those who can walk with you and those who can't into different groups. And the people who are left behind often don't realize how much they missed them until it's too late. The people who left weren't bad people or failures. They were signs. Their leaving made room for the people, chances, and experiences that really belong in your life. Not every rejection, betrayal, or fading connection was a personal failure. It was a necessary clearing. They couldn't keep up, not because they weren't capable of doing anything, but because they weren't built to handle the size of your calling. Not everyone was supposed to be a part of your rise, and their regret is a sign that they couldn't keep up with your rhythm. Fear, laziness, and a lack of vision won't change your destiny. It filters without malice, without comment, and without saying sorry. The people who stay are the ones who can handle the intensity, responsibility, and vision you bring. The rest are quietly taken away, and over time, they understand how much it costs to be out of sync. The hardest lesson they'll ever learn is how to live without them. It shows them a truth they can't escape. Not everyone should see how powerful you are. They are only supposed to watch it start and learn from what they missed. You didn't lose anyone. Your destiny just got rid of what didn't belong, making room for what was always meant to grow with you. And that clarity is something that no amount of regret can ever take away. What we've talked about here isn't just about loss, rejection, or people who didn't believe in you. When you are chosen, anointed, and aligned with your purpose, the world reacts in ways that most people can't understand. Every time someone betrayed you, left you, or made you doubt yourself, it wasn't a sign of your worth. It showed their weaknesses, their fears, and their inability to match your energy. Your silence, growth, energy, and destiny all have a power that fear, laziness, and misalignment can't change. People will always regret not being with you because you are clear, present, and purposeful, which shows them where they're lacking in their own lives. You are one of a kind. You can't be stopped. People have to face their own truths when they go on a journey with you, whether they like it or not. And even though some people may have left, you never lost anything. It was a filter, a divine clearing that made sure that only the things that really belong in your life would be on your path. Every step you take, every blessing you get, and every storm you walk through just proves that you are untouchable, intentional, and firmly on the path that God has set for you. People who are meant to see you rise will stay, while the rest will watch in silence, wishing they had known what they had too late. Keep this in mind. Your life is a mirror, a magnet, and a filter all at the same time. The people who tried to bring you down were never able to handle your power, and their regret shows that you are real. Keep growing, keep changing, and never say you're sorry for being the powerful person you were always meant to be. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful content. Like this video, comment your thoughts, and share it with anyone who needs to hear this truth. Your energy is meant to inspire, and your voice matters. So, let's continue this journey together. God bless you.